A voice crackled over the police radio. Blackmail using fake cash. Within seconds, 3 patrol cars screeched to a stop outside a grocery store. Inside, a single father was buying milk and cereal with his little daughter, hands where I can see them. An officer shouted. In that moment, the whole store went silent because the man they just arrested over a fake bill was actually the head of Homeland Security. The sirens still echoed to the narrow street as Marcus Cole stood frozen, hands raised high above his head. His little daughter, Amara, clung to the hem of his jacket, her tiny voice trembling. "Daddy, what's happening?" The officers didn't answer. One of them slammed Marcus against the hood of his car, pressing his cheek to the cold metal. The bag of groceries spilled open. A box of cereal rolled away. Milk splashed across the pavement. "Where did you get the cash?" the taller cop barked. Marcus blinked, stunned. "From my wallet? Don't lie to me," the officer snapped, waving the $20 bill like evidence of a crime. People started gathering. Phones came out, screens glowing in the night. Marcus could hear the whispers, the quiet, sharp judgments cutting through the air. Another one of those fake note guys. Looks like he's done this before. Amara started crying. Marcus tried to speak softly to her, but his voice was shaking. "It's okay, baby. Daddy's right here." The shorter cop checked something on his tablet. This guy's not in the system. No ID either. Marcus sighed. "My ID's in my coat pocket. You didn't even let me." The cop grabbed it, scrolled through, then frowned. The name Marcus D. Cole stared back at him, but he didn't seem to care. "You think printing a fake ID makes you smart, huh?" Marcus's chest tightened. He wanted to scream that this was a mistake, that he wasn't some criminal off the street, but he'd seen how shouting ended for men like him. "Sir, please. I work for the Department of—" "Don't even start that crap," the officer interrupted. "You people always got a story." A drop of milk ran down from the crush carton, tracing a white line past the officer's boot. Amara sobbed harder now. "Daddy, are they taking you away?" Marcus looked at her, that tiny face, those scared brown eyes, and something inside him broke. "Sir," another officer called out from the patrol car. "Command says to bring him in for questioning. The bill's not scanning right." Marcus's pulse raced. He knew this wasn't just about a fake bill. He'd seen this look before, the kind that didn't see Marcus, just his skin. They shoved him into the back seat, ignoring the small voice crying on the curb. The car doors locked with a mechanical click. Outside, Amara's hands pressed against a window, but the car was already moving. At the station, Marcus sat in a gray room that smelled of sweat and bleach. A flickering light above him hummed like a clock, counting down his patience. Hours passed. No one listened. Every time he spoke, the officers looked at each other and smirked. "Head of Homeland Security, huh?" One of them mocked. "Next you'll tell us you're the president." Marcus leaned forward, eyes steady. "Call this number," he said quietly, sliding a business card across the table. "Ask for Director Evans." The officer rolled his eyes but picked up the phone anyway. He dialed lazily like it was a game. Then his expression shifted. His lips parted. He swallowed hard. The voice on the other end must have been sharp, commanding. Yes, sir. Yes, he's here." We thought," he froze. The color drained from his face. "Understood, sir." The phone slipped from his hand. For the first time, silence filled the room. Heavy, suffocating, electric. The officers stared at Marcus, realizing what they had done. A few minutes later, the station doors swung open. Director Evans himself stepped in, his voice slicing through the air like thunder. "Uncuff him. Now." The cuffs clattered to the floor. Marcus rubbed his wrist slowly, the marks red and deep. He didn't look angry, just tired. The kind of tired that comes from knowing this wasn't the first time, and it wouldn't be the last. As he walked out, the same officers who had thrown him to the ground now stood frozen, shame flooding their faces. Outside, Amara was waiting, her little hands gripping her teddy bear. When she saw her father, she ran, arms wide open. Marcus knelt down, held her close, and whispered, "It's over, baby." But deep inside, he knew it wasn't over, not really. Not until no other father had to prove his worth, just to breathe free in his own country. The next morning, Marcus stood in front of the press, cameras flashing like lightning all around him. The department had tried to bury the story overnight, but the footage was already everywhere. A black man in handcuffs, a terrified child crying for her dad. Reporters were shouting questions, microphones pushed toward his face, but Marcus said nothing. Not yet. His silence was louder than their noise. Inside the building, chaos boiled. The officers who had arrested him were suspended pending an investigation. But Marcus knew how these things usually went. A few weeks of headlines, a quiet apology, then silence again. He'd seen this pattern before. But this time, he wasn't going to let it fade. Not when his daughter had seen it all. He walked through the halls of Homeland Security, every eye turning toward him. Some looked guilty, others afraid. A few whispered his name like it had suddenly become dangerous to say. When he reached his office, Director Evans was waiting, grim-faced. "You want to press charges?" he asked quietly. Marcus shook his head. "No, I want a hearing. I want every officer in that station to sit in front of the people they swore to protect. And I want the world to hear what my daughter saw." Evans hesitated, but one look at Marcus's eyes, calm, unwavering, and he nodded. Within 48 hours, the case that the police had hoped to hide became national news. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, activists, officers in uniform, even a few senators sitting in the back. Amara sat in the front row, holding her teddy bear tight. When Marcus took the stand, the room went silent. He didn't shout. He didn't cry. His voice was steady, controlled, the voice of a man who had carried dignity through humiliation. "I wasn't arrested for using fake cash," he began. "I was arrested because of what they saw when they looked at me. Not my ID, not my work badge, not the years I've given to this country. Just my skin." Every word hit like a heartbeat. The officers' faces tightened, jaws clenching. Marcus lifted the $20 bill from the table. "This is the same bill they call fake," he said softly. It came from the ATM inside their own station. Gasps rippled through the crowd. He turned to the judge. "I'm not here for revenge. I'm here because my daughter saw her father treated like a criminal for buying milk. I'm here because next time it could be your child watching." The judge looked down, her pen trembling slightly before it met the paper. The verdict came quickly. The officers were found guilty of racial misconduct and unlawful arrest. But Marcus didn't smile. He simply closed his eyes and let out a slow breath. Not of victory, but of release. Outside the courthouse, a storm of cameras waited. But this time Marcus didn't shy away. He picked up Amara, holding her close as she rested her head on his shoulder. "Are the bad men gone, Daddy?" she whispered. Marcus looked up at the gray sky. "Not all of them," he said, "but we made the first one fall." And as they walked away, the crowd began to chant his name, not out of pity, but respect. Because in a world where justice often looked the other way, a single father had forced it to face him, and for the first time it blinked. Months passed, but the memory of that night never left Marcus. Every morning when he looked at Amara, he saw the fear in her eyes slowly fading, replaced by something stronger: pride. The story had shaken the nation. People marched, not in anger this time, but in unity. His name became a symbol, not of power, but of persistence. He left his position at Homeland Security quietly, refusing interviews, turning down TV debates. Titles don't change hearts, he said in one of his few public statements. Instead, he started something smaller, a legal access movement for victims of racial injustice. It began in a cramped office in Washington, with a single desk and a handful of volunteers. Within months, it spread across states. College students, retired lawyers, single mothers, and even ex-officers joined him. They called it Project Equal, a place where every voice mattered. One afternoon, Marcus sat at that same desk, sorting through letters. Stories poured in. From a teacher denied housing, a teenager stopped for looking suspicious, a father who lost his job after a protest. Each letter carried the same plea. We just want to be seen as human. Amara walked in, her school backpack bouncing on her shoulders. Daddy, guess what? We learned about heroes today. Marcus smiled, glancing up. Oh, yeah? Who's your hero? She grinned wide. You are. The words hit him harder than any courtroom victory. For a moment, he couldn't speak. He reached out, pulled her close, and whispered, Then I have to keep earning that, don't I? That night, as the city lights glowed outside his window, Marcus stood by the glass, watching his reflection. The bruises were gone, but the scars remained, quiet reminders of the line he'd crossed between victim and voice. He knew the fight wasn't over. It never truly was. But now there was hope. Not loud, not perfect, just steady, like the heartbeat of a man who refused to bow. When dawn came, he stepped outside into cool air. Across the street, a mural had been painted, a father holding his daughter beneath the words, Asterisk, justice begins when silence ends. Asterisk Marcus smiled softly. He didn't need to look back. The world had already started to change, one truth, one voice, one man at a time. Racism isn't about color, language, or country. It's a wound on humanity. If you believe we're all equal, share this video and raise your voice. Comment below. We are one.